What's up, beautiful human beings? More story time with Jahbuela. I'm going to be continuing to read Serving Planet Earth. This is now a time to reminisce for me, so I will relate to some of you relevant events in my life on my last incarnation on your planet. The first was when I was the age of 12. I remember this well as I had only recently received a special gift for that particular birthday. This gift was one of my most rewarding instruments for making music. It consisted of parallel lines of force connected at terminals across an ebony shield. The force field was emitted by simultaneously vibrating an etheric ray tube held in the right hand and drawn in sweeping motions across the shield, which in turn harmonized and brought to life this vibration pattern into the world of music. The process that made this particularly stimulating was that the etheric energy lines were transmitted from that part of my electromagnetic aura around my body of flesh was built. As this is harmonized with the shield, the music produced is not only personally intense, but also uplifting in its ability to transcend my etheric aura into a oneness with other energies. The shield is used as a type of catalyst. Whenever I hear your music, I realize the fractionization that has to take place for you to reach a door, but never seem to enter. What you really seem to enjoy and be inspired by is the energy the need to enter creates. Therefore, most of your music, in essence, is not a path of bliss to higher dimensions, but a lament of the soul, creating a type of brotherhood in frustration and suffering. Although it may appear otherwise, this feeling permeates through and gives feeling to your musical life. As with other subjects we've dealt with, it is my wish not to criticize or feed negative energy into what, for many of you, represents your greatest joy and freedom to feel and to share. Therefore, I would like to help you extend this to the realm of spiritual uplifting and attunement with the harmonies of the universe, life, and love. Music is and always will be a method used by beings to bring about a unity between different vibrations, causing a harmonious note to the ear. In a mystical fashion, one should endeavor to achieve the same result with our intermingling vibrations of love, hate, good, and bad, and other expressions of polarity on this level of consciousness. It is important for you to realize the connection between all things on all levels of consciousness, for that thread which binds in harmony is the music of the spheres. Its song is sung continuously, but our ears cannot hear unless our soul is tuned in. The best way of tuning into this music of the spheres is to play our own instrument and to feel our own vibration which we radiate. In this, then, lies the core. Whenever the feeling of being at one with whatever music you are listening to occurs, stop all thought of playing or listening, for once again we have to liberate ourselves from the imprisonment of our minds. One very exciting method of transcending the mind at such a time is to be aware of your diminishing level of comprehension of the music. You will find yourself unable to actually change the rhythm taking place as though it has its own spirit. It has, although you used your mind and musical ability to manifest the music on your dimension. It is, unto itself, a harmony and as such is a reality. Therefore, let the music live as a separate entity and let it express itself with the help of the contributing musicians by going wherever it pleases. It will live for as long as energy is contributed, but immediately the mind brings in its overwhelming vibration patterns. A disharmony will occur on a subtler level, forcing the musical entity back to its root source, the music of the spheres. Many musicians feel this instinctively, but do not know the course they should take. Whenever they subsequently play, they must practice this type of surrender to an overwhelming harmony. Back again to one of my most memorable childhoods, the instrument for music was uplifting in itself, but I was later to receive a similarly meaningful apparatus with the purpose of expressing an art. A part of me which found frustrating or inadequate artist's equipment similar to what you have today. One of my greatest frustrations before I was saved by this instrument was an ability to see or feel and bring together in my mind in an almost spontaneous fashion a picture expressing something lying deep within me. That expression was, in itself, a manifestation of significant spiritual growth, and it was important to use it for that reason, to bring it into life in this dimension and subsequently to share it with my fellow beings. I was not aware of such importance, but more felt the need instinctively. It seemed to have its own life and live within me, pressing ever outward. This whole situation was resolved in my receiving what was called an ostragon. It was made of glass-like substance over which a plate of translucent colors shimmered with an electro-type force. The patterns this emitted were very random, for the colors thrown out across the screen were non-directional. They had lost their characteristic patterns of behavior, and these had been screened out by a process of filters. So we had a situation of pulsating colors on a screen which were subject to change, manipulation, and formation by the slightest force exerted thereon. Because the energy level required to exert this force was so infinitesimal, the electromagnetic waves emitting from my brain were more than adequate. Therefore, with my mind, I could change the colors and form perfect, instantaneous, free-form art. The unit was equipped with a motion recording photographic device. My favorite method of using this was to close my eyes, and when by some reason unknown to me, a picture manifested itself in my mind, I would immediately open my eyes and project the vision onto the screen and press the record switch. I do not advocate this as a substitute for your more skillful methods of artwork, but as a method of photographing the abstract world, it was ideal. This then was one of the toys of my childhood which I would like to make possible for you to experience, but I feel sure before long your science will have invented something similar. Or if they had the idea, the mechanics would be simple to them by now. Children's toys are not expected subject material for this book, but nevertheless, therein lies a secret. For in most of our younger days, our sense of magic was much more profound, especially for those of you who have swung so far over into your fixed, unreal reality. The child knows it is all a game. Adults take years conditioning children that life is serious, a thing that is fixed, with strict codes and limitations, where the games are real. This, then, is one of your greatest paradoxes. You train your children to grow up away from their world of play, where everything is related into games, and to accept your conditioning about a grown-up reality. What nonsense. They know the reality is, and therefore they are free to play games in the illusionary world we live in. After conditioning them into this imprisonment of their souls, you extend your control into making them into what you want, or could not be. Freedom is, if only your children were. Alas, they choose to be with you, where you are, both spiritually, mentally, and physically, and this process lies at the essence of your culture and will not change until your ways of life change. This process of change, however, is already in motion. How it is for you now in your three-dimensional world is essential for your development as an evolving spirit. It has not always been like this for you, and it will change for some in the immediate future. But in order to understand my upbringing and life as a child on your planet, you have to bear in mind that upon birth, unlike yourselves, I did not lose my knowledge and memory of other lives in other dimensions, but the latter was difficult to relate to as a complete shift of consciousness was required. For my memory of other lives on other planets, however, it was only necessary for my helpers to keep my memory back for me to regain my previous level intellectually, with the knowledge and wisdom I had gained through many incarnations. This is useful for you to know, as for some, it will be the way for them, also from now on. The key in process, which we have mentioned earlier regarding travel, is essential and very effective in dealing with knowledge gained in previous lifetimes. This is your method of extending yourselves above and beyond the knowledge of your world at present, and to help yourself and others. As you know, your sciences have advanced rapidly in the development of arms and machinery for power and profit, and also in the computer industry, communications, spaceflight, and lethal methods of destruction. Your previous knowledge of these should be and is limited. However, in the field of healing and harmony among mankind, you have a background of knowledge to draw on. This, then, is the method by which you tap into this rich source of wisdom. First, tie your hands together with a wire around the wrists. This wire must be as thin as possible and must not be around another part of the body. Copper is the most ideal substance. The wire should be tied so as to leave a slight indentation in the skin. Now, as this wire is held up to your eye level, extend your fingers out to form a flower or fan-like appearance. The fingers should be as far back and wide apart as possible. Without causing any discomfort, the mind should relax with the eyes focusing on the wire without actually looking for or at anything. Rotate the thumb slowly when you feel in tune to do so towards the corresponding temples. This has to be done with ease and harmony. As they approach, a tingling sensation will become evident in the fingertips. This will intensify as the thumbs approach the temples. There is a spot where you will receive the maximum flow of energy just before actually touching physically. Feel this out and hold at that point. Now with the connections made, the flow will be increased considerably with harmonious breathing and thoughts. When you have determined your maximum level, transcend. This is done instantly by your ability to express in mind form your yearnings for knowledge and wisdom, and then releasing that energy out through your fingertips. The process is not one of the mind, but it must express itself on all levels. Therefore, think about it. Be emotional about your quest and want it. It will then manifest on the mental plane. A very strong input, transcending the limitations you have previously worked under. There will be many of you hoping for instant results. They will only happen when a particular knowledge is required. For a reason at that time, this method connects your mind to its spiritual mind on the mental level of consciousness. So it is a useful way of solving problems and making decisions when your earth level mind is inadequate. Your mental thinking process will become more positive and have a clarity and strength that will last long after the physical exercise is over. It is, at its minimum, a stimulation of the mental thinking state. At its maximum, you attune yourself to your complete accumulative knowledge, past lives, and sources of further expansion. For there always lies ahead the next door to open. This is your greatest gift on the planet Earth. It is a world of limitless opportunity. There is always the next door. There are no limits. You go as far as you let your limitations act upon you. That is why this world is such an exciting place to incarnate, for the possibilities for spiritual growth and wisdom, for feeling love for one's fellow man, animals, and planet are immense. The hardships endured, of course, can be considerable, for this is growth with fire. But one great law of karma protects from stagnation. Knock and the door shall be opened. When the pupil is ready, the teacher will arrive, or as we say, for every search forward, there is a fellow soul reaching back to help.